today we have got, who have I got on the Hard Dance Happy Hour today? I have got, it's only Phil Reynolds. I wanted to put a little swear word in the middle to just emphasise the fact that I've got Phil Reynolds on my podcast today. Honestly, absolutely.
I wonder what your choice of swear word would be.
Well, yeah, I try and keep it clean. I don't know why, because I don't think the demographic of this podcast would be particularly young, but I don't know why I go to the effort of trying to keep it clean. But yeah, absolutely massive welcome. So excited to have you on.
Thank you very much for having me.
No worries. And how are you? You all right?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Busy. I think now that obviously restrictions have been lifted and kind of back in clubland and work and school, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. It's pretty much like, it feels like it's gone back to pretty much normal life now.
It has, isn't it?
You know, with my day job, I'm going out doing meetings again, going out to see people. So it pretty much feels like I'm back to normal again now.
Back to normal.
Which after such a long time, you know, it's so good.
Yeah.
You know, getting out and doing gigs again is, yeah, it does. And you kind of forget just how busy you can get. And I'm sure that, you know, a lot of people adjusted to kind of having a bit of a slower pace of life, I guess, for quite some time. And suddenly then it's school runs, getting to work. Yeah. And then, you know, by the time I think you get to the weekend, especially now, you're knackered.
Yeah, totally.
So
I go through massive overwhelm as well, where it's just like, I'm going to freeze because I've got so much in my head, so much going on now. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah, it is a bit overwhelming.
So it's like sometimes getting to the point where it's quite difficult to kind of fit everything in.
Yeah, we do our best.
But I guess it depends.
That's all we can do.
But then
do our best.
You know, whatever it is that's important, you just got to make time for it. So
yes, 100%. I'm with you on that one.
But it's but during lockdown, it was a lot easier to do certain things than it was now.
Yeah, totally.
But you know, it's good to have that time where I had a lot of time to do a lot of music, and you know, it was time that I probably wouldn't have had before.
Yes, exactly. That's the massive positive I think everybody's taken from that. It really is one of the positives of such an absolutely crazy situation. So
yeah, I mean, for me, lockdown was pretty good, really. You know, I'd kind of done a lot of music, got fit, and spent a lot of time with daughter. You know, so in a way, it wasn't such a bad thing.
Yeah.
You know, compared to some people, you know, I was working from home for quite a bit of it as well. So it's kind of nice when you kind of get back out and doing stuff. Mm-hmm. But I think I think in about a month's time, we'd all appreciate the time we probably had having a bit of downtime for a year and a half.
And the weather. The weather was so good as well. I'm like, bring back the lockdown weather, you know?
Yeah, I know.
But massive international DJ, Phil, and mega hard trance producer. I wanted to just go back to right at the beginning, really. So where it all started for you in London, and just I wanted to get just your take on like how the rise of Phil Reynolds happened at the beginning, and where it started. I guess your first kind of experience DJing in London, etc.
I guess it was a long time ago, so over 20 years ago now. So, you know, back then in London, there's a lot of things going on, a lot of people in London. There wasn't that many DJs, to be honest, when I first started. So I started probably about 6 months to about a year before we started doing Frantic. So bought some decks. Bought decks really not for wanted to DJ in a club. I just love of music. And I used to buy a load of mixtapes from Camden Market. So I'd be buying Paul Oakenfold, people like that. But then I'd only like half the music and not like the other half of the music. Mm-hmm. So trying to whiz through songs on a tape machine was really annoying. It's like, and so you kind of go through it. And then after a while, I just thought, well, I might as well just buy decks and then start buying records and then have a bit of a mix. I might be rubbish, not really bothered about that, but more about buying the records I liked and then just taking it from there, really. So even when I did buy records and decks, the dream wasn't to DJ in a club.
Really?
No. So then I had some friends who were DJs, and you know, I think after about 6 months of buying decks, they got me a gig in London at the Sound Shaft, and it was quite an
6 months.
Yeah.
In.
But it was like an experience, like everyone, you know, you speak to any DJ that plays in a club for the first time, the sound's completely different. You're really nervous. You don't know whether it's any good, whether people like it. I played to about 2 people, so I didn't really have much of a gauge from the crowd. And then, after that, I mean, I used to go clubbing with Will Patterson, who I started Frantic with. And so we bumped into each other. We hadn't seen each other about a year or so. We bumped into each other. And I kind of mentioned to him that I started mixing. And then he said he's got a birthday coming up in August, probably 21 years ago, whatever it was, because of the Frantic birthday was a few weeks ago, wasn't it? So there was 3 of our friends that were having a birthday party together. So we just said, okay, why don't we just do like a club event for all our friends, and we'll get some of the like me and 2 other guys to play. So 250 people turned up to this club in Chinatown as the first kind of Frantic. And I'll never forget playing, because I think I mentioned to you, didn't I, on one of the messages about how nervous I was, and I couldn't put the needle down the right place because my hand was shaking. And I had to get this hand to steady it, to put it down, to even put the needle into the right place.
Oh God.
And I was just so nervous.
Yeah.
I think it's all to do with confidence, isn't it, really? And
Totally.
at that point, I wasn't that confident in being in front of a room full of my friends I've never played to before.
Yeah.
And I actually say that I hated it. Not because, I really didn't enjoy it. Just because of nerves. I didn't really enjoy it. Everyone loved it, but for me, it was different, And it did take me a while of playing out almost literally every single week to kind of get to the point where I started to enjoy it and I kind of got confidence in it.
Well, I'm glad you believe you carried on then, because you carried on despite not actually like enjoying the kind of feelings and the emotions that came with it, I guess, just because of the nerves, and you carried it on. So
yeah, and I mean, even the story of Frantic, which most people don't realise, was that, we I think we've done that party in August, and then we've done a party every month right up till Christmas, and I think each Frantic had about 50 people. So we had these clubs and no one there. And then we done a gig on Boxing Day, and literally no one turned up. And so me and Will had a bit of a chat, and Will's going, well, if the next one in January isn't busy, that's it, because you can't afford to keep doing it. And I got booked to play Escape from Samsara, because Will back then was kind of looking after my bookings a bit. So I got to play Escape from Samsara at the Fridge, which was massive back then. So I said to Will, look, it's all right if I play there and come and play Frantic afterwards. He's like, yeah, no worries, do that. And then when I played at Escape from Samsara first, and then got to London Bridge, and Will was outside this club, it was really stressing. I was like, Will, what's going on? And he goes, too many people have turned up now. What are you talking about? He goes, go in there. There's about 400 people in there. And we walked in, and it was just packed.
Brilliant.
And it was like, it went from like literally 50 people for like 5 or 6 months to suddenly something happened. It just exploded.
It was meant to
and it went from 400 people to 600 people to 800 people to then going to Bagley's, to then doing Bagley's regularly. And then we kind of overcapacitated that. And our dream was always to get to Camden Palace, because we used to go to things like Mind Over Matter and Sunny Side Up. And, that was always our dream, to get to there. And then we got to Camden Palace. And I'll never forget the first Frantic we done there. And I was playing last, and at the end, all the lights came on. And literally, it's just people everywhere. I mean, it's always been my favourite place to play.
Yeah, definitely.
Because of all the different layers of people and all the tiers. But when it comes on at the end, and you see all those people with 5 different tiers of people, me and Will just looked at each other and went, this is why we wanted to do it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It was really amazing.
Oh, fantastic.
So I guess for me, my career took off alongside Frantic. Obviously, the bigger the Frantic got, me being original resident, I became more well known. Obviously, we had more people come to the club. But even so, back in the early days, if I played for other promotions, I still had to play early. And I think that's the difference between what kind of happens now compared to what happened then. So there was a kind of a bit of a music progression throughout the night in, I suppose, the late 1990s, 2000s, where you always had people playing slower, kind of more funky hard house, stuff like that at the start of the night, and then it can be 160 BPM, whatever, at the end of the night. But there was always a progression. So if you wanted to go and play another promotion, 9 times out of 10, they'd say, you can, but you got to play early. You got to prove that you can play sensibly at this time, and if you do play well, then you can play at any time of night. So that's what used to happen. So I used to play quite early for a lot of promotions before I got to play later on.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I guess I'm lucky in a way because there was a lot going on. I guess right time, right place. My music that I played was kind of different to what everyone else was kind of playing at Frantic, where it's more predominantly hard house. But even the hard house, lots of people who liked hard house and didn't necessarily like trance seemed to like what I played. And lots of people used to say that to me. So I don't know. Maybe it's just I was just lucky with what I played and what crossed over between what people liked, I guess.
Maybe you're just brilliant. Maybe you're just a really good DJ, Phil. You play good music. Do you know what I mean?
but I mean, I used to. I mean, some people want to go, you should never plan sets. I always planned my sets for Frantic for the years, like for years and years, just because I always knew I was playing after, and then I could always set out how I wanted to kind of the set to progress.
Yeah.
And so I used to work quite hard during the week of working out exactly how I used to do it, and then put all the records in order at the record bag. Of course, if I had to change it, I had to change it. If I was quite battered, I didn't have to look for the next record because it was just behind the one that was there. So it was already pre-planned. So in some respects, it kind of made it a bit easier. But it just seemed to work for me, to be honest. I mean, it doesn't necessarily work for everyone, but for me, I did. And I used to I'd class myself as a professional record shopper because I used to know exactly what days, what times to go to record shops to get European imports.
Oh, really?
And how it worked with record shops, because I used to work with one for a while. And so especially with European imports, the record shop would probably get 10 or 20 copies of a record on a Wednesday, and it'd be the following Wednesday get some more. So if you get there at the right time, probably about 90% of people who buy records aren't DJs, they're just bedroom DJs. So things like Binary Refinery, I picked it up when it was released on a label that it shouldn't have been, and it got recalled. But I bought it that week. Darren Pearce was the only other DJ in London that had a copy of it. Me and him had a copy of it for about 4 weeks. No one else had it. And I remember playing it at Camden, and I remember playing at Bagley's, and everyone's face was just like,
"Yeah, what
is this?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Wow!" And I was just lucky because I think it got put out in Aquarius, and it was meant to be put out on another label.
Right.
And it got recalled. And so I was lucky that I had this record for about 3 or 4 weeks, and no one else had. But that used to happen quite a bit at weekends where I would have records that no one else had got because they'd go certain days. I mean, I took it really seriously. I wanted to have music that no one else had.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
It's the background behind what you do, I guess, relates to what you play.
Yeah.
It's a bit different now with MP3s and stuff like that. But
yeah.
back in the day in vinyl, you could end up with loads of music that no one else had, which then makes you stand out a bit more, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you played in loads of other countries as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, we're quite lucky that we went to a lot of the people that originally was going to Frantic when it was popular back in the late 90s, I guess early 2000s, were Australian, Kiwi, South Africans. So it was quite easy in some respects. A lot of them went home to go to those places to set up. We set up Frantic, that still goes in Sydney. So we do Melbourne and Sydney. I think the first year we've done it 8 times in 1 year, and I was flying for the weekend. I done a weekend in Australia 7 times in 1 year.
Oh, that's crazy.
And I was still working full time as well.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it almost killed me. And even like going to South Africa for the weekend and stuff like that, I did have to kind of stop myself and going, hang on, like is this really happening?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like it was a dream I always had. It just kind of happened. And then it's almost like, hang on, is this really kind of happening? Because it was a bit surreal.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But of course, you're loving what you're doing, and you're traveling around, and you're meeting loads of people, and you're making new friends, and you're seeing loads of old friends. And for me, DJing, probably 50% of it is the social side of it. The other side of it is playing. And when I was playing in London a lot, it was always, I'd see my friends every single week. I wouldn't have to see friends during the week because you saw them every single weekend. Yeah. And then you probably spend all weekend with them as well. So, that was a massive part of it. So, I've always enjoyed traveling, and I've gone to some pretty crazy places. And it's places which I never expected to go myself. I mean, probably the most obscure place was Murmansk in the Arctic Circle.
Oh my goodness.
And it was minus 20 degrees. There was minus 22 degrees when I was there as well. I mean, the gig was rubbish, but it was an experience.
I was going to say, it's an experience nonetheless.
There's no one in the club, and the doors open. It's freezing cold, and I was DJing in a coat.
That's absolutely mental. That is an experience.
But yeah, I mean, but all these things, it's all about life experience, I think. So DJing always seems to be a bit of a glamorous job. It's not always that way. I mean, the hour and a half or whatever you do playing is always great. But then, traveling can be tiring. It can be kind of lonely if you're going by yourself.
Yeah.
You've got no one else to be with. But the pros always outweigh the cons. And I've been really lucky with it, to be honest. And whenever I talk to people about DJing, I always say that, through love of music, I kind of got into it. And then I guess right place, right time, being passionate about something and, not really thinking about it too much.
Yeah.
I've always tried to keep my feet on the ground and, just enjoy what you're doing. And yeah, it was just a bit of a crazy period, really.
Whirlwind. Yeah. When did you start producing? Was that shortly after, or was that how?
Probably about 4 or 5 years after I started playing. I guess it's one of those like natural progressions that you're constantly playing other people's music, and you kind of want to say, well, what would it be like if I tried to do it? 'Cause you never really know. You might be good, you might not be good, and it's a long process of knowing what you can and can't do. I mean, back in those days, lots of people were sampling other people's records, or even now there's thousands of sample packs you can use and things like that. But I mean, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. So you kind of go in going, right, I kind of like the sound of that. I kind of like the sound of that. I always try to play out melodies and stuff. I mean, I'm not musically trained, but I can kind of stumble my way through stuff. And I'm a lot better at it now, but back then, but you kind of learn as you go. And I've always watched, I guess people I've worked with have always engineered. But I've always been interested, me and Steve Blake were doing a lot of stuff together for Impact. I'd be constantly studying what he was doing. And then I bought Cubase for home, and it was hard work because I just kind of had some idea of what I was doing, but it just took a long process to doing it.
It's a minefield, though. It's, you always continuous learning with it, really, I think, isn't it?
Well, it is. I mean, like during lockdown, as I touched on before, I had a lot of time. I've done loads of online tutorials just to kind of get better at the engineering side of it, to the point where I'm quite happy with what I'm doing at home. Obviously, you should have good monitor speakers, and I've bought some studio headphones that are really good, so you got different reference points. But it's still that technical side of it. I was never, I guess, that confident, and I put out stuff that I'd done myself, but I was never, suppose, when you compare it to some of the other producers, you kind of go, not quite there. So I've done loads of online tutorials, which really, really helped.
Yeah.
And, I kind of say to anyone now getting into it, there's a lot of online tutorials you can go on. I mean, the Alan Morrow ones, which I've done, were really, really good.
I was going to say to you, because I started and I found it a minefield because there is so many. There are so many tutorials. Yeah. It's almost like, you could waste years of your life watching them. And I just wanted to know, like, where do you start? Where do you start? Yeah. Because I know so many people that have got, they've got better, they've improved their production skills by doing that. But it's like, I'd be looking that up and going, well, how do I know which one's going to be good enough? You know what I mean? And then I might waste an hour of my life but I don't know.
But also, I think with some of them, it's, I think the Alan Morrow ones, obviously I know what I'm doing on Logic because I've had it for years. So he starts talking about stuff and I automatically know what I'm doing with it. But it's almost like you need a kind of dummy's guide to Reason or, Ableton or Logic, just so that people can go, right, this is how you start a song. This is how you put a sample into the sampler. This is how you play out a MIDI part. This is how you can move around the notes and whatever, just so that people kind of go, right, I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. I'm going to get the program and I'm going to sit through someone doing a step-by-step of all the basic stuff you need to know.
Yeah.
Because then you can then start doing the more advanced stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'd done a sound engineering course for a while, thinking it'll be a lot more sort of computer based, and it wasn't. It was more acoustic based. So it's quite interesting because I had to splice actual tape, recording tapes. You got to record a recording on a piece of reel to reel, and then you're kind of going backwards and forwards, splicing it in places and editing it all. So it's quite interesting doing that because it's quite hands on. But it's like so much easier to do on a computer.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see kind of how they do it in the real world, I guess. But yeah, it got to a point where that wasn't really applicable to what I wanted to do, really. So I kind of gave up with it.
Yeah. What about digital creation? Because that's your label, isn't it? So when did that start? Because I think you picked that back up again recently, haven't you?
Well, originally it was done. I made an album, which I put out, which is basically a lot of collaborations with people, and it's probably put out about 8 years ago, maybe. It's quite a long time now. And then I guess I got to a point with DJing and music where I started to get a little bit bored with it, I guess. I've been doing it for a long time. Music that was around at the time wasn't really inspiring me. It's quite hard to kind of motivate myself. And then I had a daughter, she was quite young, and I just wanted to spend more time with her. So I just knocked it all on the head, to be honest, for a while. I mean, I looked after my daughter every weekend, so I decided that it was more important to see her grow up and spend time with her other than sort of going to do gigs. So after sort of starting digital creation, that kind of period came along, and I kind of just stopped doing everything for a year. And then I kind of got back into playing again, and then started making a bit of music again. And then obviously during lockdown, I'd done loads of music. I made loads of music, and then putting it out on other people's labels. And then got to the point, it was like, well, what am I doing that for? I mean, I might as well just start up my label again.
Yeah.
And so I'm good friends with Craig Jones. And so me and him have done a track together, and he was quite keen to kind of get involved. So I said, well, why don't we just sort of start the label up again and start putting stuff out?
Awesome.
So we've had one release out so far. The next release is Steve Blake Get a Rush. So we've got the original version, which I'm not sure if it is actually available on digital anywhere. I don't know. But Steve kindly allowed us to use it, and I've done a remix of it. So that's out next month, I think. Brilliant. 29th of October, something around it. But yeah. And so we've got 3 other releases to go as well. So it's kind of nice getting back into it and being able to do stuff for yourself, I guess.
And All Things Trance, which is a promotion event that you had set up in London, wasn't it, as well?
Yeah.
That's, have you got one coming up, I think, haven't you, in October?
Yeah, we got All Things Hard Trance on the 16th of October.
Nice.
So that's with Prime Mover. So we managed to talk Dave Parkinson out of retirement, I guess. Not that he never really DJ'd anyway, but we managed to chat him into to coming out and playing again.
Amazing.
So I think a lot of people are excited about that.
Yeah, definitely.
But that all came about because there was me, Trevor, Ian Betts, James Lawson, Brad Thatcher. We all went out for a drink one night a few years ago, and someone took a picture and we put it on Facebook. People were coming in saying, "Wow, that would be an amazing DJ lineup." And me and Trevor had been sort of talking about perhaps doing something. So yeah, so we sort of set it up for that, and it was almost like, well, we just wanted to throw a party, book our friends, and get all of our friends in one place, and just enjoy it basically. Yes. And it just seemed to take off, and we sold out the first 4 or 5 parties. Amazing. And within a short space of time, within about a year of doing 3 or 4 parties, everyone was talking about it, and it kind of felt like the atmosphere of a club probably 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Where people are just there to enjoy themselves, and we go from sort of progressive trance up to hard trance, so we attract a kind of younger trance crowd as well as the older people who used to go to Frantic, where Frantic do the odd event now. There isn't really any kind of hard trance kind of events that happens anywhere really, so that crowd's not really catered for anymore. And if you're putting up a lineup with, say, me, James, Trevor, K90 or Steve Blake and things like that. You know, that's an old school kind of Frantic, you know, lineup, isn't it?
Yes,
So
amazing.
that appeals to a lot of people. So, you know, me and Trevor are lucky because, you know, we've got a lot of good friends who we can get to DJ.
Yeah.
So we tend to try and shy away from booking massive DJs. A, because of budget, and B, we don't really need to.
Yeah.
You know, we're not trying to become a massive party. We're just happy to do 250, 300 capacity party, but just do it well and keep it having good music and people enjoy themselves.
I might have to get myself to that one.
Yeah, you should come down. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, definitely. And one that I really, really want to go to is a weekend away with yourself.
Yeah,
that's in November, isn't it? So that's a whole weekend.
Yeah,
Phil Reynolds.
Yeah, in Eastbourne.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky that I got to play a few before me. So if people don't know what this is, basically we love Hard House, the promotion that does pure Farley and people things like that. That Steve Thomas, the old trade DJ, owns a hotel in Eastbourne. So during the winter months, they wanted to come up with this concept where they book out the whole hotel, and then people can be there for the whole hotel for the whole weekend. So from Friday through to Monday, and then there's music Friday night, Saturday daytime, Saturday night, Sunday daytime, and it's like being at a house party. Basically, it's quite a small hotel. It's not big, and you know there'll be loads of people that you know. It's all your friends, and so I played at the K91 first of all, and it was amazing because the people running it was really nice, really well organised, and it was just the thing of being in a closed environment with like for people who like, you know, their favourite DJs, but in an environment where, you know, you can just go and talk to them and they're always there, and it's kind of it's a unique kind of experience.
Yeah.
And then I played the technical one, and then they asked me to do my one.
Fantastic.
So we done one obviously pre-COVID, and that went really well. We brought a slightly different crowd because most of the other weekend ones were kind of hard house based, but I was the only trance one other than K90.
Yeah.
And so we brought loads of new people to it that had never been before, and people couldn't believe how good it was and how unique the actual experience was.
I know it'd be amazing. I really want to get myself there because it's just a small and like intimate, you know, and a unique experience. Sounds absolutely brilliant.
Plus, you know, people disappear off to their rooms to do whatever they're going to do and whatever, and then it's interesting to see what states people get in.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But it's great because. But it's great though, because I mean, I remember years ago we used to do like weeks in Ibiza and stuff like that, where because you're with people for a longer period of time, not just, you know, in a nightclub, you get to talk to the people that you wouldn't necessarily talk to, and you get to kind of make new friends, and actually you find out a lot about probably friends you probably didn't know before as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not like you're just going to go crazy for one night. Well, you do, but then you might suffer come Sunday. But, you know, it's in a good spot. So you can go on the beach and go for walks and stuff.
Oh, it
depending
sounds
on what you want to do.
Brilliant. Sounds so good.
And yeah, it's such a great concept.
Yeah, it really
so
is.
If people like the sound of it, then, you know, there's room still available.
Yeah.
All the details are on Facebook.
I'm all over it. I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So when we're running out of time, and it's annoying because I had like a billion like questions to ask you, and I was like, I'm never going to be able to fit that all into half an hour. It's not going to happen. So I'm going to move on to some of just the more random questions, a bit more unrelated to the kind of music side of things. So what childish thing do you still enjoy? What do you still do that you had done as a child that you think's I'm
quite bad at doing this when I kind of hide behind walls and stuff and then jump out at people. I do love still doing that. I seem to remember I've done that to Trevor recently. But yeah, I mean, I used to do it at work all the time at people as well. You just get sworn at quite a bit.
Yeah, it's the
and
best
sometimes
thing
people
ever.
threaten to hit me. But yeah.
Have you ever actually been hit? I'm just waiting because I love doing this as well. I love it.
Yeah.
And but the one thing I'm really bad at, are you really bad at like having anyone do it to you, or are you okay?
No, I'm not. I'm not so bad. But you know what? The thing I hate is when you hide behind the wall expecting to jump out at someone, and then they take forever because they're chatting to someone, and they take so long to the point where you just go, "I can't bother this," and just walk off.
I love doing it to other people, and I find it really funny. But my son, especially, he does it too. He hasn't done it for a while actually, but he used to do it quite a lot. And I can't even do it. I do the loudest shout. It's not even a scream. It just comes right from the belly, and I just like, and I hate it. I get really cross because it makes me jump so badly.
But my daughter seems to have a sixth sense now when I'm likely to do it, because she knows, she already knows, and then even before I do it, she'd go, "Daddy, don't jump out," because she knows I'm already there doing it, and it's like, come on.
I know you're there.
I used to be quite bad at practical joking people at work. Though I remember there was a mouse in the office, and there was this guy, for some reason, was very scared of mice, and he literally jumped on his table when he saw one. So he disappeared off somewhere, and we had this long retractable ruler. Someone found it in the office, so I went under the office, under the desk opposite him. I had to wait about 15 minutes for him to come and sit back down, and I waited there, and then I started tapping his foot, because then he actually thought the mouse was running his foot. This bloke jumped and almost hit the ceiling, and he made him paranoid after that. He kept thinking there was mice running across his shoes.
Oh, honestly, I love that kind of stuff. It just makes the day go faster. It's much more enjoyable at work, isn't it, when playing practical jokes? It's brilliant. It's brilliant. What movie do you wish life was more like?
Oh, well, I mean, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, because there's so much random stuff going on with that. It's it reminds me of some of the trips overseas I've had.
Yeah. I can remember watching that many years ago, but I can remember it being absolutely like it was a head, I don't want to swear, but really crazy film. And I watched it loads of times, but I can't remember much about it now.
I mean, I've been in a situation that was a bit like the Hangover, the movie.
Yeah.
Which I won't really go into just yet, but it was like I was living the real life Hangover movie, kind of coming to from a very drunken night before, and then finding policemen in the hotel room, and it's like, what's going on here? Because I had no idea what was going on.
A massive tiger. Is it a tiger or is it a lion? I can't remember in which Hangover movie that is. I've seen them all. Didn't have a random big cat in you.
I did have Mike Tyson or a tiger in my hotel room. I had two policemen instead.
Oh my god!
And I have no idea what's gone on. It is, yeah.
Brilliant. Would you take the red pill or the blue pill?
Yeah, I don't know why people would take one or the other. I think I'd probably just take both. And
what mix would you get if you took both? We've done that before, Phil. Is that talking from experience? I've taken the two at the same time.
Yeah, possibly.
Say no more. Brilliant.
Yeah.
And a bit of would you rather? So I don't know why, but would you rather have to read out loud every word you read, or sing everything you say out loud?
You definitely wouldn't want to hear me sing anything.
That's it bad.
It's awful, yeah. I mean, there's a reason why I DJ and don't sing. Every now and again, I get dragged up to do karaoke.
Yes, mate. Do you do it? That's brilliant. I love a bloke who gets up and does karaoke. I think it's brilliant.
Well, I wouldn't say get up to do it. We might do it at home on Zoom and stuff like that. But not in public.
So you're like,
I'm really awful. In my head, I kind of think, I reckon I could do that, and then it just goes, and it's like, and everyone else is going, "What is this?"
Yeah, I can't sing. I can't sing at all.
If I had quite a few drinks, then maybe I won't really care about it.
Yeah,
which is probably the reason why I get up sometimes, isn't it? The drunker you are, and it's like everyone's going, well. The worse you are, the better it is, really. No one likes a good singer.
Yeah, but then everyone's laughing at you rather than enjoying what you're doing. They're laughing at you then, aren't they?
Yeah. I say, you laughing with me? No, we're laughing at you.
I think I'd rather sing everything out loud. Even though I can't sing, I just think that would be more entertaining. Like if everything you had to say, like, thank you, Phil, for coming on my podcast.
I used to do that to my daughter a bit, just to wind her up. And she hated it. She hated it. Like I changed words and songs. So when we're in the car and I take her to school and stuff,
not another
I changed all the words of the songs, and she ends up hitting me. She says, stop it. She hits me, and I do it more on purpose.
My husband does exactly that to my son, and it does my nutting. It really does my head in, because he changes all the words to songs, and then he'll take a snippet out of the song and he'll sing that bit over and over again, and you're like, oh my God, shut up. And he'll change the words, and it does my son's head in.
But usually the words get changed to things like poo and stuff like that, which kind of like,
so
it's very, very immature. But I do find it quite funny. I mean, for a few years, I ended up doing the DJing at my daughter's school disco.
Did you? Oh, that's amazing. Did she love it, or was she embarrassed? Or did she love it?
No, she did like it. I found it more stressful than playing in a nightclub, to be honest.
Did you?
Yeah, because at least with adults, when they're kind of smashed, they go, oh, can you play this song? You go, yeah, and they never see him again. With kids, if you say yes, it's like signing a bloody contract, isn't it? They'll keep coming back going, you played my song yet? And then you realise you don't have, and oh God, it was so stressful. Yeah, and then trying to mix kind of Justin Bieber into Little Mix and stuff like that in the end. I was just like, I can't bother. It's like, I don't think people are really bothered about whether it's beat matched. It's so as much as you kind of go, right, I'm going to do this properly. It's like, but the BPM differences in pop music is ridiculous.
Yeah. Did you? I take talking about those 20. Ones, you didn't plan your sets, Phil. You didn't plan your sets. No. Or did you still?
No. And the thing was, so the only reason why I got to do it is that DJ that was doing it before had an affair with one of the teachers, and then it all ended badly.
Scandal.
And there was an advert in the school newsletter that went out, and my daughter's mum said, "Can you do it?" I'm like, slightly inappropriate music, and so it was like a Christmas one, and they were going to cancel it. So I just said, sorry, I said, I'll just bought a load of Now albums. So I had this whole folder of called school disco music. But the kids were just asking for really obscure things. Like I had kids come up to me going, "Have you got the Beatles?" I'm like,
really?
What? No I'd Run DMC was one of the ones I got asked for.
Wowzers.
And I was like, I'm not really a mobile disco. So the amount of times I had kids disappointed with me going, "No, I haven't got that one." And then, what about this one? Are you actually a DJ?
Mr. DJ?
And it's like, I'm just training you for when you get to about 18 years old and you're in the Ritzy nightclub going, "Can you play that song?" It's like they're in training for that. But yeah, it was stressful, to be honest.
No, it's hilarious.
Nothing like disappointing children, is it?
No, definitely not.
I don't mind adults, it's all right. Yeah, they'll get over it.
Kids never let you forget it.
No, they don't. They've got memories like elephants, haven't they?
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming on to my podcast.
Right.
And it's been absolutely brilliant chatting to you. I'm well happy with that.
Yeah.
So we've got you're doing a mini mix as well to follow this chat, aren't you?
I am.
So
yes.
What can we expect from the mini mix? Your tracks?
Quite a few of my own productions, actually. Yeah, all the stuff I kind of done from lockdown. So there'll be a few bits that haven't been released yet. Yeah, so I just thought it'll give a bit of an idea of what to expect from me musically in the next few months.
Fantastic. That sounds amazing. Well, thank you again. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
The rest of your evening, and we hope to catch up with you at the weekend away. Sorry, with Phil Reynolds.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on anyway. So it's been a lovely chat.
No worries. Thank you very much.
Okay. Cheers. Bye.